Welcome once again to SoCo Chat, a podcast where we hear directly from county leaders, discuss the latest news, and talk about all things concerning our beautiful corner of California known as Sonoma County. Welcome to SoCo Chat. Once again, I'm your host, Paul Gullickson, Communications Manager for the County of Sonoma, and we thank you for joining us. Today, we're diving into an inspiring story of one of resilience, renewal, and most of all, community. It's a story that's particularly timely given the devastation of the wildfires that in Southern California. Out of the ashes of the devastating glass fire of 2020, something extraordinary is blooming here in Sonoma County. The master gardeners of Sonoma County have taken a once devastated space in Sonoma Valley and with the help of nature has transformed it into a vibrant and edible paradise for children, and it's really become a loving symbol of hope, healing, and sustainability. That is the focus of our discussion today. And joining us to share this remarkable journey and the impactful work of our two guests, Mimi Enright, Program Coordinator at the UC Master Gardener Program, Sonoma County. Did I get that right?
You did indeed.
Thank you. And Pat Decker, our Master Gardener Volunteer. Together, they'll give us an inside look at some of the amazing projects that are happening at the Los Guillicos Garden and how they're shaping the future of gardening in our community. I'm going to go so far as to say that. So anyway, grab a cup of tea or coffee and join us. But before we get to our guests, as usual, we'd like to start with our trivia question of the day. Our question today is this. This is a tough one. How many major microclimates does Sonoma County have?
Oh.
If you know, call us at 707-565-2242 or email us at publicaffairs@sonoma-county.org. That's public affairs, one word, at sonoma-county.org. And if you're correct, you'll receive one of our SoCo Chat coffee mugs or water flasks or one of many other SoCo Chat swag items that we have. And so with that, our usual preamble, let's get on with our discussion. Mimi and Pat, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thanks so much for having us today.
Okay, so since the spring of 2023, UC Master Gardener volunteers have been transforming Los Guillicos property, which, as we noted earlier, burned in the glass fire. Tell us about the transformation that's taken place and how it all came together. Pat, I think I'm going to start with you.
Okay. Well, here's what I want you to do. I want you to picture going into this garden, what had been a garden, and you see a burned out sign that says Valley of the Moon Children's Garden. And when you get inside, it's totally devastated. And you walk to 3 remaining beds, garden beds. And the only thing that's growing is one solitary rosemary bush.
Oh my gosh.
And it's kind of all charred, but there is blue on it. And so we looked at that and said, you know what? This place can be renewed.
No, yeah.
And so we started in and we put in a state-of-the-art irrigation system. That was the first thing. And while the folks were doing that, digging the trenches and laying the pipes and all that, we had master gardeners, about 20 of us, and we were growing seeds in our pots, little, peat pots at home in our windowsills and digging up a bunch of plants from the backyards of all these master gardeners. So within about a month, we were ready to do some planting. And so this is amazing to me, but when we were said and done in June and we had a garden, we had about 650 plants.
Oh my gosh.
Most that we had put in ourselves, very few bought, and that's how we began.
And all of this is in the shadow of Mount Hood, which was completely burned. So you've got all these burned trees. It's a very still burn scar area, right? So there's a heavy presence of glass fire in that area. And yet out of that, we've created this.
You know what I would add is we had a lot of help from people in the community along the way who helped us clear out dead and damaged trees. Mimi helped us with that. And we had folks who would donate soil, chips. And so, there was just so much help that we looked at all these people who were coming to help and said, you know what? It was a mess to begin with, but there's something about this place. It kind of feels like it was sprinkled with some kind of fairy dust because these people would just show up and help us.
And it would happen.
And that's how the community
Well, so much
essentially
that's
got built.
kind of our story of Sonoma County, all the fires that we've had, right? And the community coming together to make something, a recovery happen. Now, just for our viewers' sake, listeners too, we're talking about right at the entrance of Los Gilgos, right by the Valley of the Moon Children's Center. As you're taking that, if you're taking that road in there, it's on the left, right? And it was actually it was a garden for the Valley of the Moon Children's Center.
Yes,
That's correct.
yes,
Yeah, and like you said, there was a sign there, and you've kept the sign, right?
yeah. That and the rosemary bush to
Are
us
still there.
are still there, and we wanted to. Like Mimi likes to say, we wanted to respect that and link kind of the future of the place with what had been.
Yeah. Well, so help me understand, how big a garden are we talking about here? Are we talking about a few planters, or are we talking about acres?
Well, we have 3 large raised beds, and we have a hedgerow. Mimi, help me with this, but I'd say that out of the 4.5 acres that we're talking about in total, not all of which is developed yet, we've got maybe 3/4 of an acre developed with the children's garden.
That sounds about right. So we started out with a small subset of what used to be the Valley of the Moon Children's Center garden. We, of course, engaged in conversations with them about our taking on the garden, adopting the garden, and we welcome their staff and the children that they serve into the garden as well to honor that history and all the investment that they had put into that space.
Yeah.
So our amazing team of dedicated volunteers that Pat referenced, and the amazing community support we've received from local businesses and funding support. It's just been incredible.
Well, we're gonna get to funding in a minute.
Yeah.
So let me, as I understand it, the garden doesn't just grow plants; it grows food that serves a purpose. Tell me more about that.
It definitely does. We have folks in Master Gardeners who are really good at growing vegetables. And so with their help and their dedicated involvement, we took 3 of those beds that I referenced earlier, and that is the vegetable, essentially, little farm. And so last year we grew about 350 pounds worth of produce.
Wow.
Tomatoes, basil, cabbage, peas, you name it. And we harvest that weekly and take it down to the kitchen staff at Valley of the Moon Children's Center.
Oh, nice.
And then their kitchen staff cooks it up for these children. And we've got pictures that we have that they've sent us of just these most beautiful meals that have been prepared.
Oh, that's
and
fantastic.
so it's really,
I love that image.
well, it's very inspiring,
Yeah.
For us to get that kind of feedback. And every Monday when we go down there after we harvest, they give us a big hug. They're just so appreciative.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah,
I
it makes
love
us
that.
feel good.
Okay, I'm going to back up a second. Mimi, I'm going to go to you. Tell us more about what is the UC Master Gardeners program,
Sure.
And how this all came about, how you became connected with this.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. So the Master Gardener program is an all-volunteer program. We operate as agents of the University of California to extend the educational, science-based foundation of what the university represents out to our community that we serve, and of course, in our case, in Sonoma County. Our volunteers go through extensive training over many months on a variety of topics around soil health or botany or food gardening or composting or integrated pest management, the whole range of activities. And then our mission is to extend that knowledge that we've gained on sustainable gardening practices to our community. And we do that in a whole variety of ways. Los Gilgos, the garden we're developing at Los Gilgos is one of many demonstration gardens we have around Sonoma County. And it's a wonderful hands-on way to be able to do our education outreach to the community. so people can see in practice what we're trying to help teach.
So you're going to, if I come and volunteer, which is a pure theory, because I'm not sure you want me, but
Sure we do.
but you're
Yeah,
going
of
to
course.
teach me how to grow things better than I do now. Is that right? You're going to tell me best practices so I don't hurt
Hopefully.
anybody?
So all of the educational outreach we do is based on sustainable landscaping principles. So principles about really respecting the planet and taking care of the planet, I guess, is a nice way to maybe net that out. We do training classes every 2 years and get new, excited, enthusiastic Master Gardeners who come on board to help our existing Master Gardeners. We have about 240 Master Gardener volunteers in Sonoma County now, again, doing outreach all over the county. But yes, we're always excited to get new volunteers. If folks are interested, please feel free to reach out to us to inquire about our next class.
And I'm going to jump ahead because we also talk about the educational opportunities. You do field trips out to these demonstration gardens, right?
Yeah, and I'm actually going to let Pat talk about that because the volunteers have created a stunning children's program there, and she can do best in representing what they're doing out there.
Okay. Yeah, Pat, you want to tell us about that a little bit?
I'd love to. And I'd like to recruit some schools too while I'm at it.
Okay, this is your opportunity.
We're very proud of the school field trip program. We do 7 a year, and primarily with Title I schools across all of Sonoma County. And when they come, we provide free bus transportation, which is a big bonus. And then we have the children rotate through the garden a station at a time. And these stations have curriculum and activities, hands-on activities for the kids that are tied to something called Next Generation Science Standards. I don't know if you're familiar with that. But essentially, what that does is teach children to ask questions, form hypotheses from that, and then collect data and draw conclusions. And progressively, as you go through your grade levels, you get more and more and more in depth. So we would start little children in first and second grade out just by explaining some basic concepts. So, for example, with our littles, that's what we call them, the little ones, we would teach basic composting, recycling, and so forth, vermiculture, how to plant a seed and what happens to a seed above ground and below ground. We actually show them those examples and let them poke the little holes in the pots and put the seed in there.
Cool.
We have them learn about pollination, the parts of a flower, by circulating through the garden where they snip those flowers and come and look at them under magnifying glasses. They learn, what does pollination look like? So they're watching birds and bees and butterflies move around the garden and drink the nectar and move to another plant. And, for a lot of these kids, it just opens their eyes. It's hard for me to think that not all kids grew up like me, where you're outside after school every day. Some of these kids don't have that experience.
This is their first exposure to a garden.
It's their first exposure. So what we're trying to do with the field trips is teach them the basics of sustainable gardening, but give them something a little bit more. And that is a lesson that we call mindfulness, where we teach kids to use all of their 5 senses and go through the garden and, again, pick plants and then write down in a student journal, if I can show this, that the kids use.
Pat's showing a journal that they actually hand to the kids. That sounds fantastic. A lot of planning going into that. I imagine you've gotten some good feedback about this program.
Well, we have.
Yeah.
So here's what some of the kids have said. I learned the worms have 5 hearts. I learned that the 4 sisters are planted together because of the nutrients, sunlight, food, and soil. My favorite part of the field trip was the gratitude banners, and we have them make gratitude banners at the end. And then here's another one. This is good. I learned that some flowers have male parts and female parts.
Oh, that's an interesting conversation. Well, Pat, fantastic. Well, I know you're also eager to talk about your volunteers. None of this would happen without your volunteers.
Yeah.
So
That's right.
tell us a little bit more about your volunteers, where they come from,
Yeah.
and how many do you have?
Yeah. We've got about 30. And I like to say that our volunteers are really our secret sauce,
Yeah.
because it's amazing to me that we have as much talent as we have. For example, we have a landscape architect. We have a city planner.
Great.
We have retired teachers and school administrators. We have a professional graphic artist. We have marketing and communications people.
Oh, fantastic.
And so the list just goes on and
Yeah.
on. And all these people have come together to really contribute in whatever way we need to make everything happen.
It comes together.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's an amazing team.
It is a true potluck.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? It's inspiring. It's inspiring and it's motivating.
Well, let me cut to the chase. How can people? I assume you need more volunteers, and how can people get involved? Right?
Yeah. The best way is for them to just call. They can call or they can visit. I'd like to give a phone number
Of course,
here.
please do.
This is the number where they can call and leave a message, and we'll get back to them right away and give them more information and tell them how to get there and all that kind of stuff. But it's 707-565-2608.
Okay, so you say that again one more time.
Sure.
People are sometimes they're just grabbing for a pen right now.
No, I know that feeling. 707-565-2608.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. That's great. And I also want to, and maybe I want to go back to you because I want to make it clear that you also offer Spanish-speaking programs as well, right?
We do. Yeah. So we've been, over the last 10 years, since I came on board as the program coordinator, I've really been trying to focus on developing many more Spanish language resources for our community. We have a phenomenal website. People could just, Google on the internet, Sonoma County Master Gardeners. I'm happy to offer the website address as well. But we have a wealth of resources in Spanish, of course, and as well as in English, but especially focused on food gardening content on our Spanish language site. We have a very small set of Spanish-speaking Master Gardeners, and we would love to have more bilingual Master Gardeners as members of our program. If anyone's interested in who we are and what we do, please don't hesitate to reach out to us at the phone number that Pat listed. We'd love to get you on a list for when our application opens up for our next training class, which is going to be in early 2026.
Well, great. Well, and I also want to talk about funding. I mean, obviously, your lifeblood of your volunteers and what funding you get. Can you tell us what are your key sources of financial support?
Yeah, so even though we're affiliated with the University of California, we have to raise all of our own money.
They're not giving out a lot of money these days.
No, we have to raise all the money to fund our operations. So lots of incredibly generous financial donations from our community, which we're always happy to receive. We do plant sales. We propagate and sell succulents to raise money to help fund our operations as well. But I have to say a huge foundation, especially at the Los Guillicos Garden, of what's helped us financially to support this garden is the community support we've received. I'm telling you, you pick up the phone to make an ask to someone and you say fire and you say garden and you say kids.
Right.
And folks are amazingly generous. We've had all the irrigation supplies that we've used donated by Hunter and Wyatt Irrigation, which is located here in Sonoma County. Our Image Tree Service removed hazardous trees for us for free. we had a very generous grant from Supervisor Gorin that helped us install ADA accessible paths in the garden.
Yeah.
And Garden Works, a local landscape contractor, donated some of their time on top of that to install our ADA accessible paths.
Yeah.
Local wineries have come out for in-service days. Rotary Club has become an amazing partner. I mean, just the level of community engagement and commitment in this project has been really stunning.
Yeah. I do want to give a plug to former Supervisor Susan Gorin, who
yeah.
just stepped down. I know she was a big supporter of yours.
Huge.
She used
She's
to
why
talk
we're there.
about you all the time. Yeah. Well, that's fantastic. And I understand just before the holidays, you received a significant grant from Ag and Open Space District. Tell us about that.
Yeah. Our minds are still a little blown. We're so excited. We submitted an application to the Community Spaces Matching Grant Program through Ag and Open Space, and we're one of 7 projects that were awarded funding in this last funding cycle. And we were awarded just over $1 million.
Wow.
We have a full-blown master plan developed for this 4.5-acre space that we have a license agreement through the County of Sonoma for. And this is for phase 1 of the implementation of that master plan. So we're incredibly excited about further development on this site, which of course has already shown such amazing potential for work we can do, meaningful work we can do in the community in that space.
Well, it's a wonderful story. And I we started off mentioning the fires in Los Angeles, and you mentioned to me before we came on that you are reaching out to them. Tell us about that.
Yeah.
What you sharing what you've learned?
Yeah. So, well, certainly the 2017 wildfires complex was a huge wake-up call for all of us in Sonoma County. And it certainly was a wake-up call for us as a program. We really didn't have a lot of content we had developed or educational outreach on defensible space. That certainly has become a real foundation of the educational outreach we do since then. We've developed some wonderful partnerships and programmatic outreach on that topic. We did some really significant work after the 2017 wildfires. One was a really special citizen science program where we actually collected leafy green samples from local gardens and small farms while the fires were still burning in 2017, froze those samples and went funding hunting and did a kind of a landmark study on looking at the safety of produce after an urban wildfire when you've had that many structures burned. We were getting lots of questions from the community about, is our produce safe to eat? And there was no scientific research or support on that topic. So we did some really landmark work. So when the wildfires hit in Los Angeles, it's hard not to get emotional. It really was, it's really harkens back to 2017 wildfires for many of us. We, of course, immediately reached out to our colleagues in Los Angeles, our sister Master Gardener program down there, and offered to help do some educational outreach for their Master Gardeners on produce safety considerations after an urban wildfire when you've had so many structures destroyed, as well as soil health and soil safety considerations. So we're so happy to be able to share the knowledge we've developed since the wildfires with any communities that were impacted. When the Camp Fire hit up in Butte County, we were up there the next year sharing what we had developed with those colleagues so they could help their community. Part of what I was sharing with you earlier, Paul, is I feel like I think the human condition is that we adapt to conditions as we need to. And certainly I think Sonoma County is a wonderful representation of the adaptation that we all need to do moving forward, knowing that we're going to be impacted by these significant wildfires. And we are just deeply grateful to be able to offer that same knowledge to other communities that have been impacted and to help them adapt and move forward in the future.
Yeah. Well, that's wonderful. I mean, obviously, we've been through a lot here in Sonoma County. We've recovered a great deal, but so much that was rooted in people coming to help us. And now to hear your stories and so many others who have reached out to offer what you've learned to share with others. And that's what we do. So I applaud you for that. Well, listen, Pat, could I ask you one more time to read that phone number? I assume people might call that if they want to make a donation too of any kind.
Yes, please. And we can point them to our website.
There you go. What's the best way to find your website? Just to look up.
So you can, like I said, you can just look up on the internet, just put in Master Gardener Program of Sonoma County. It'll pop us up. Or MG for Master Gardener, Sonoma .ucanr.edu.
Okay.
That's our website.
And the phone number again?
Yeah, 707-565-2608.
Wow. Thank you both for being here. This is great. I look forward to hearing more about you as you develop all 4.5 acres. I'm sure it's right around the corner for you. So I applaud you and good luck. So we'll have you back sometime. Okay.
Thanks, Paul.
Thank you.
Okay, and as a thank you for both of you for being our guests, we'd like you to take with you one of our SoCo Chat coffee mugs. It'd be great to have out at the garden. And to our listeners, as always, we'd like to give you a chance to win one of our SoCo Chat mugs or flasks or whatever you would like. All you need to do is give us a correct answer to our trivia question, and if you get the answer right, we'll have a drawing. We're going to do a drawing to see who is the winner if we get multiple correct answers, or we'll just give it to you. As a reminder of our question today, how many major microclimates does Sonoma County have? If you know, call us at 707-565 or email us at publicaffairs@sonoma-county.org. Also, if you have comments about this or any other segment or have a suggestion for a topic for a future SoCo Chat discussion, please email us at that same address, publicaffairs@sonoma-county.org. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you all, and we hope you continue to follow us on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, and, of course, YouTube. We'll see you next time. Thank you.